welcome back to the programme and welcome to the sports interview this week. It is a sports interview, but it's also another interesting story from my guest, the very friendly George Cotten. Welcome, George, to the programme.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, so you're nicely made up there.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to make outfits.
Yeah, not often you do that, is it?
Sack would have been better.
George, you're come across as a very happy sort of person to me, and everything you do you seem to enjoy.
It's part of life, isn't it? Enjoyment. If you can do something and enjoy it, be happy with it, it goes a long way towards helping you play the game. Whatever
game you're playing.
Whatever you do.
You started off when you were young, actually playing or representing England against the Egyptian forces.
Yeah, when I was in the forces in Egypt, I got chosen from one of the lucky ones to play for my country, as I thought. Never got anything for there.
No. How many could have been chosen?
Oh, there was a great 50,000 men, so I got chosen from 50,000 people, forces in Egypt, to play for my country, and I really enjoyed it.
How many times did you play?
Only the one.
Only the one. Just the one. But it's still a pretty good achievement at 50,000.
Oh, I think so, yes.
What position did you play?
Left half at the time. I think that's a wandering midfielder now, isn't it?
Yeah, wandering midfielder. Yeah, left half is the right half, centre half.
Yes, that's it.
In our day, it used to be the Stanley Matthews era. He was a right winger.
That's it, right wingers, left wingers, and they're all different, isn't it?
Strike.
2 up, 4 in the middle.
And then you went back to England, and then what happened in the football scene there?
I played for the local club and had a couple of games for Hampshire and with County, but I think it did have a trial for Tottenham, but that didn't come to anything at all.
Was it this trial? I mean, we haven't heard anybody talk about trials. I mean, it's just a one-game trial, is it?
That's it, yes. When I was in the forces in Egypt, one of the chaps proposed me to go there for, excuse me, a trial. But we had the trial game, but I wasn't good enough.
Right. It's difficult to get in, isn't it?
Oh, it is. You've got to be some good sort of talent to do that.
Not a Spurs supporter now, then?
No, not really. Portsmouth, maybe.
Yes. What about then? Then you got into another sport, didn't you?
Yes, I managed to get into golf, which I think is a great game. One of the greatest. Compared with bowls, maybe. All depends upon the age.
What do you like about golf?
Oh, I think there was be competitive, and that's a great social game as well, I think, because half the time you're talking with the best playing golf. And you can travel, play different places. I've played in America and Canada and Spain. Managed to win a trophy at La Manga.
Yeah, La Manga, a very famous place for golf.
Yes, it is that.
Well, what was the best course then you played where you've been all over? Where would you think was the one you got the most?
I think La Manga will come top.
Spain number one.
Yeah, I think it's that number one.
Yeah.
We get the weather as well. So.
Hey, talking about travelling, I mean, we were talking to down at Valderrama this year, and they've been to Dubai, they go to Prague, they go to, now they're in Jamaica, now they're going to Phoenix, Arizona. Tremendous amount of travelling for these golfers.
Oh, I think it is. Yeah, they live out of a suitcase, really, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Peter Coleman told me he was away. That's Bernard Langer's case. He away 30 weeks out of 50, so he doesn't see a lot of his family, does it?
No, it isn't. Not a very compatible game, I think, for the other sex.
So you played with single figures?
Yes, I got down to 8. Not for long.
No, but you got down there.
Yes, I got to 8, so it was quite an achievement for that. I'm quite pleased with that. Yeah. Unfortunately, the back has aged and crept up on me, and so I've now reverted to bowling.
Yeah, that's where we met.
That's where we did, on the green.
On the green.
When you told me you was in the Parrot.
Yes, that's it's interesting that we both had that in common. We were both in the Royal Engineers, and we were both paratroopers.
That's it.
And then you told me something then that really made me think, you've got to come here and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Because when you were obviously you were called, you first worked on the merchant navy.
On the merchant navy, on the tugs in Portsmouth Harbour.
Learned to be what?
Well, learning to be a skipper, but the sea didn't agree with me, so I came out of the tugs and was immediately called up for the army.
And what happened then?
And then we went into the engineers, and they were asking for volunteers for the airborne who had just come back from Africa. and the whole of our sort of platoon floated to go in, so we all went in a block, and there's only 2 of us got through the medical.
Only 2?
Because you had water on the knees and all that stuff. So I don't know whether I was fortunate or unfortunate, but I did make it. Went for the trials to Manchester. We had 3 weeks up there. That was like a big park with slides and swings. And
Yeah, that's it.
well, there was a few people going in this trial period broke their legs, you know, with a sudden fall. So it is needed that.
That's where you're side left, side
Left,
right.
side left and swinging, yeah.
Brilliant time in my life was learning parachute.
That's it,
The
yeah.
exit trainer. Do you have an
You never went from a balloon though, did you?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't go from the balloon. But what's it like going from a balloon?
I think that's very frightening, because when you jump to hold the aperture, and you drop 120 feet before you shoot open, and I think you're reaching speeds of about 80 miles an hour before the chute comes into it.
60 feet per second.
Yeah,
That's what they tell me.
Frightening.
It's a bit complicated. But. So, yeah, so okay, you did your para training,
Yes, yeah.
and that was hard.
Oh yes, you had all these sort courses you had to go through. You know, you had to be A1 plus really to get in.
Was it log race?
Fun?
We used to do a log race. We used to put
Oh yes, you know,
I know.
over the top.
I know. Yeah, it's
And
tough, isn't it?
live ammunition fire ditching when you're falling.
Well, of course, no, obviously you were doing it a long time before myself, but so okay, so you had what, 3-week course then?
Yes, eventually in the 3 week, that's an intense course. And then you were declared credible, and I went in for the 1st Airborne Parachute Squadron Royal Engineers up in Lincolnshire.
Yeah. And then?
And then we got briefed to go D-Day started. You know, we would stand by ready to go into any operation, and we got briefed to go to Cotten, but then they pulled the 1st Airborne in and put the 6th Airborne in, and we was being held back. We didn't know what for, but eventually the market garden came up, and the trip to Arnhem, a bridge too far sort of thing. And
Which, of course, at that time didn't mean much, did it?
no, nothing at
I
all.
mean, it didn't mean anything, did it?
Nothing at all.
It was just another drop.
That was just another drop, you know, only, but it turned out to be one of the biggest drops ever made at any time. 36,000 men were dropped there over that period. And we was one of the first engineers, of course. And we dropped 7 miles from Arnhem.
7 miles.
7 miles, which
How
is
do you know
like,
it's 7 miles?
well, that's what they told us.
Because presumably it was in kilometres.
That's it. That's the nearest place they could get to get the drop for all the people that were going in.
What sort of height we dropped from? 400 feet?
400 feet, yeah.
Which is the lowest.
You hit the ground before you left the plane, actually.
I only did one 400 foot drop, but it's so quick.
It's over before you know it.
Yeah. Now, tell them a bit of people who haven't been a parachuter, who have been fortunate, because I always think it's one of the things in life that you should do is you have to jump out of an aeroplane.
Oh, yes.
You've got this kit bag, haven't you?
That's it.
And you have to drop it.
That's it.
And you have to do
They
it.
bring all the ammunition around your leg, and as you drop 400 feet, I'm saying you're supposed to pull this in, lower it down, and be ready to hit the ground.
In about 15 seconds.
That's it. Unfortunately, my one, I'd put the one game, instead of going down, I'd put it up, and it just flopped down in front of me. So I hit the ground faster than I should have done.
So when you were dropped there, there was no people shooting you?
No opposition at all.
None at
Just
all?
like a Sunday, and there was sort of people walking in day, and we 7 miles to Arnhem, and there was the Dutch greeting us and bringing us drinks and saying hello, and thought they'd been with you.
And nobody really knew you were nobody, no, the Germans, nobody knew you was going down the field?
Nothing at all.
Completely.
We got into Ireland, and they decided to go into the schoolroom right alongside the bridge, because that was the intention, to hold the end of the bridge to stop them blowing it up.
How close was the school to the bridge?
60 yards?
60 yards.
Right on the bridge itself, yeah.
As close as that.
That's it. Right. 140 odds went in, engineers and a collection of the Dorsets. And we was there for 4 days, and then eventually we had to evacuate because they set fire to the school, and there was only 37 of us came out,
37.
I'm afraid.
Out of
Yeah,
140.
140.
So how did they die, most of them?
Well, there was so much firing going on, you know, the Germans were trying to get to the bridge, but we sort of put up a good fight and managed to hold them for 4 days, but it wasn't enough.
What sort of weaponry did you have then?
For what?
What sort of weaponry did you have?
Well, I had a Sten gun and a Bren gun, but that was it. successfully run out of ammunition, 3 days, and the fighting was going on practically all the time. I was one of the fortunate ones that managed to survive.
So you weren't injured in any way, shape or form?
Oh, I had a few little scrapes, with the ceiling falling in on me, and I was in 3 times in a room when a grenade went off. So,
what's that like?
well, my birth certificate is number 13, so...
You're a lucky fellow.
I was very lucky, very lucky indeed.
So when a grenade goes off, then it must be terrible on the ears, mustn't it?
Oh, yes, it does affect you. The sound and the noise. But I think the German grenades weren't so destructive as the British ones. The British ones had metal, but the German were tin. So they didn't cause
Well, these stick ones.
Yeah, it was a stick grenade. Yeah.
Stick grenade.
But they just, instead of having the iron metal, which caused the damage, it was just tin. And they weren't very effective, thankfully.
It's pretty hard to sit here and believe now that you could survive 3 hand grenades, isn't it?
That's it.
It's quite incredible.
I would say, I'll count in one, and I've had about 7 large with near misses,
Alright, yeah. So you were, as we call it, you were surrounded by people dying left, right and centre then.
That's it, yeah.
It must have been very, you're only what, late 19 years of age?
Yeah, 19.
Not to contend with at 19, isn't it?
It says, I think you can't visualise it unless you were there, And the hectic, and there was, the German tanks were coming up because we was on the ground floor, and we was parading that. And I was told to go and look out the window and see what was in the roadway. And I crept in there and opened the curtains, and there was this big Tiger tank. And how it never fired, I don't know.